I'm going to talk to you about website localization. I am Stewart. I am a full stack developer working primarily with ASP.NET and C Sharp. I work at NXP Mobile. It's a mobile software dispatch company, and we have customers all across the country. At the bottom here are a link to the slides if you want to view them on your phone. It should progress as I do this. And here's kind of the inspiration for my talk here. So why should you localize your website? Take, for example, Spanish. Currently, 50 million people in the United States speak Spanish, and that's growing. Supporting multiple languages is greatly going to increase your target audience. It's going to be easier for your product to reach more people. And once the framework is in for one language, it's very easy to just add others. So if I change the language in my browser to Spanish, I should get websites that might be in Spanish, right? And so OK.gov, no. GitHub, no. Stack Overflow, surprisingly, yes, which is nice. Google, no. Newegg, no. Best Buy did, but Amazon did not. So if you're a native Spanish speaker, Best Buy is going to be the easiest choice for you to purchase somewhere from. So I want to localize my website. Where do I start? Now, if I Google it, you find all kinds of tools and services, but that's really just not necessary. The localization is supported in Java, ASP.NET, C Sharp, Ruby on Rails. You can do it in JavaScript and many more languages. Their implementations are all slightly different, but these all have the ability kind of built in. So as I said, I work primarily in .NET, so I'm going to talk about this from a .NET perspective. So what you'd want to do is you'd want to get your user's language. Now, the most straightforward way to do that is going to be to actually get the language from the browser. That's not necessarily going to be accurate, but that's going to be a pretty good guess. And how you do that is when the browser sends that request to the web server, it's going to include information about the current language. And that's typically going to be done on the server side, but there are some client-side workarounds, and those do, of course, vary by language. In .NET, the file you use is going to be the resource file. And what this is it's an XML file, and it contains a name and a value. And there's kind of what it looks like in Visual Studio. And the name is going to be how the translation is referenced, and the value is the string that's going to be displayed. Now, the file name for your resource file is going to have the language culture name in addition to the extension. So, and what you'll do is you'll create a file for each language, and in that you'll have the same name across all of the files, and the translation will, of course, be different. And there are examples of how they would be. You can even include the additional culture-specific, for example, US versus Great Britain, or simply leave those off. Now, how do I use these values once I've set them up? Well, there are several different ways. What you'll do is any existing text you have in your website or strings, you want to replace that value with the values from the resource file. In the code behind, it's going to be resources.yourfilename.name from your resource file. There's response right. You can do evaluating expressions. For JavaScript, you can actually set a hidden value and use a JavaScript function to call those values so you can get your translations. And so that's just kind of a basic way of this. Also works in Java. There's a strings file, and that's just kind of a basic. You make a resource file that has your translations, and you plug those into your code, and then you get the language, and then that's going to replace all those translations for you. And that'll allow you to greatly reach more people. Thank you.